Now, away from news around the conference, we're going to have another conversation with a guest who should have been a part of this conversation since the outset, but he reported to Afia TV that he was under the weather, and now he's better and ready to give us his informed analysis. We're joined in the studio by Ozo Igbonekwu Ogazimorah, Editor-in-Chief, SBSGreat Interviews, Attorney at Law, and former Commissioner for Information in Enugu State. Ozo, it's always such a good experience to have you. Good morning. Welcome to the show.
Good morning, welcome. And sorry for your helmet.
Thank you very much.
Yes, he was really under the weather, so it's great to have you back up. Now, let's gain your first reaction to the re-emergence of Hotel Presidential. Now, in this conversation, remember Enugu Kwenu, where we started talking about this from the controversial part to when it started getting rehabilitated, and now we are here. The doors are reportedly now open for business. What's your reaction to this development?
Yeah, thank you very much. In the first place, I think a great credit will go to Afia television because your exposure, your initial exposure, got the attention of the government, particularly in stopping.
All right, just hold our thoughts. We'll go on a quick break. The morning show will return shortly. We'll continue this conversation. Apologies for the interruption. Stay tuned. Apologies for that interruption. We're still having a conversation around the re-emergence of Hotel Presidential with Ozo Ogazimorah. Please go ahead with your line of thought. Apologies.
Okay, thank you very much. As I was saying, you started it because an attempt was made to personalize the lands and sell those lands. Then there was the media exposure by Afia television, then joined by others. At the end of the day, the government listened to it and now acted promptly. And that was when a few things started emerging. How there were initial lessors, people who took it over and possibly assets stripped it. And then a handful of other things happened. But now we have got to this stage where it is rehabilitated almost 70%. It is good news to hear. It is also a good sight. If you pass there, if you had known Hotel Presidential in the past, and then you pass there today, you compare it with about 1 year ago when it was an eyesore. Because indeed, from about 2013, 14, that place became an eyesore and continued up to the point where the rehabilitation now started. And the rehabilitation, from the outside, exterior, it looks very good. I have been to the inside, that is the front office, and then the first floor, and they are good. They're very good. It is impressive. So maybe by the time they complete it, we now begin to look at the business and economic aspect of this development.
Right. Now, there's a lot of need for clarity around issues concerning the agreement, the terms of agreement between the Enugu State government and Amber Hospitality Services Limited. Now, what we don't know if Amber Hospitality paid for Hotel Presidential or what kind of agreement was reached between the two parties. And some kind of clarity was sought from the Commissioner for Culture and Tourism in Enugu State, but unfortunately we were unable to get to that part of the conversation. We also don't know how the agreement was reached. We don't know, a lot of things concerning the terms. Now, we know the tenure of the agreement is 15 years. So Amber Hospitality is going to manage and run Hotel Presidential in this concession deal for 15 years. That established. But there are also emerging concerns by a lot of the people in Enugu concerning the structure of Amber Hospitality Services Limited. They are asking that people should deep dive into the ownership structure of the company that is now running the hotel. Of course, that's Amber Hospitality Services Limited. And this is away from the initial issues that we raised that were yet unsure of, how the agreement was reached and all of that, and if any money was invested. For instance, if we take it back to Landmark, we understand that the Landmark CEO, Mr. Paul Onwanibe, invested 10 billion naira in the first phase. So that one was made very public. But we are unsure of issues around how Amber came into the business. What the commissioner did say was that Amber Hospitality presented the best deal of all the companies that approached the state. But that was it. We don't know anything more than that. And this is also a call for more information while we're at it. So what we know about Amber Hospitality Services Limited. Now, this is based on research by Afia TV from online sources, including social networking platforms like LinkedIn. Of course, the graphic will come up as we go ahead and reel this out. Now, online sources say that the Managing Director, Executive Director Operations of Amber Hospitality Services is one Willie Kazila, and he has been doing that from 2018 to present. Now, we know, according to online sources, yet again, that Willie Kazila is from Zimbabwe. Now, he previously served as, of course, other roles which are there listed on screen, wealth of experience, beginning from early levels of being a floor supervisor at another hotel to executive housekeeper of another hotel to, of course, other roles up until he elevated to becoming the executive director of operations and managing director of Amber Hospitality. So he does have a lot of experience spanning from 1993 till date, all listed out there clearly on screen. Now, we know that Amber Hospitality Services Limited is a Nigerian hospitality group that provides hotel management services situated in Lagos, VI specifically. And it has 5 main brands according to its website, including Blue Amber, Luxor Hotel, Amber Crest Hotel, Eternity, Stepping Stone Student Residences, and that's we have seen there. We're yet to see Hotel Presidential being listed. We're yet to see a website for Hotel Presidential. So this is what we have on ground right now. This is the information we have on ground. I would like to gain your appreciation of what we've listed out, especially as emerging conversations are coming up about how Igbo would be integrated in top-tier management of this hotel beyond doing ordinary services like being room service people or cleaners. Igbo want a seat at the table, and not just any seat, but a solid seat on the management of this company.
Okay, thank you very much. You see, when you have situations like this, it is good to look for the right information. Nobody has it now. There are classes of engagements that may bring Amber into it. Whether it is a management consultant, in which case it is training management and staff to take over eventually. Whether it is a LSC, whether it has listed for a period of time to make money for itself, pay money to the owners, being the government of Enugu State, and of course pay tax. Then there may be the property lease. That is where you lease the Hotel Presidential, not the services rendered. Remember, there are different things. You lease the Hotel Presidential and do whatever you like with it, which is different from you lease the Hotel Presidential as service rendered, in which case you are going to account for all the assets there, both expendable and non-expendable. Whereas when you lease the property, it can lead to asset stripping, in which case, doing whatever you like with the property, you may decide, for instance, in this studio now, you may decide to remove all those things. And then in the process, you may even remove it and never replace them, right? So now, we don't know yet which is happening. Then this issue now comes up, the issue of which is there for the Igbo man or the Enugu man. Yeah, it is a valid question, but let me tell you the truth. Hotel Presidential isn't what is not supposed to be what it used to be in the 60s and 70s when it was a public service. At the moment, for it to survive, it has to be a completely business service, commercial. So it is now up to the government to determine whether the people of Enugu or the Igbo have the competence to render this service and maximize profit for the state. It may not be quite satisfactory to the average man, but the truth is that if it has to succeed as an organization that will not live on government subvention, you remember, if you don't let it operate on its own to make profit, it has to live on government subvention, which means every year or every month, government will have to allocate money to refurbish, to pay salaries, to replace chairs, to replace air conditioners, to replace bulbs, and the rest of them. In which case now, it just goes back to the kind of civil service situation where people come there to work. After working, they go. They may not be keen on profit, and which may bring in what actually killed Hotel Presidential. What killed it? Hotel Presidential at a time was 100% not making money, but failed. Reason? You just needed a letter from the governor or a person delegated by the governor to come and take a room and live there in eternity. During the Igbo administration, members of the State Assembly lived there all through the life of the administration. They were not paying room rates, they were not paying anything. Possibly they were paying for their food, but they were not paying for their accommodation. They occupied the place. 24 members, 24 rooms. And you know, maybe the speaker will have 2 or 3 extra rooms for his workers or his assistants. In the Chimaroka administration, it happened. It was not in that magnitude anyway, but it happened. In the Sullivan administration, it was even in higher magnitude because there were state assembly members, commissioners, all the other political appointees, everybody had a room there, 100%, until eventually it was dismantled. So, it is a decision to be made by the government whether to have it running as that kind of public service, in which case profit is not of overriding interest, or it has to run as such service that profit is the target and there's no provision whatsoever for subvention or any kind of money, any kind of care, where they are expected to make profit, make returns to government. Now, when it comes to the person who was chosen, yes, I've read some online snippets on the man. I don't know why the government chose him. You mentioned that somebody said he was the best. The person was not supposed to say he was the best, because the best is a comparative thing. If you say he was the best, you will say he was better than who? So when was the bidding made? Which companies participated? What were the criteria? So it wasn't a proper statement for him to say he was the best. Let him just say he was their choice.
That was the Commissioner for Culture, Dim Ugochi Madueke, responding to the questions around accountability, because we did seek for more clarity around the terms of the agreement, but for some reason, it just seemed to not be coming forth. And that is why we're still left with so many questions. I mean, the deal with Landmark was super clear, crystal clear. We knew what was happening.
Yes.
But in this case,
open and objective,
but we're still having so many concerns. So it now begs the question, was the Ministry of Culture actively a part of that discussion? Because if they were, then they should be able to provide such information to the press, don't you think?
Yes. I will not even worry about whether they were part of the discussion. I understand the structure of government. Her job may be to make the public statement, but not being involved at that decision level, at that level where it was decided. That should not be the worry. The worry should be in understanding the difference between Landmark involvement at Nikele
Right.
and what is happening. the way I understand it, government is funding the rehabilitation of Hotel Presidential, while Landmark is funding the rehabilitation of Nikelek. So you see the difference.
So you don't see the possibility of Amber investing money like it happened with Landmark. You think Amber's case is different? They just came in as possible hotel management service providers.
Yes, that's what obtains.
Right.
That's what obtains. Landmark is investing money, and that is why he has more years. He's likely to have more years. Because after throwing in his money, you cannot just throw him out. He has to recoup, make profit and hand it back to you.
Right.
Or even renew the agreement. But in this case, Amber doesn't look like. You just mentioned what it does in his website, in their website.
Yes.
I don't think it includes building of hotel or rehabilitation.
They offer hotel management services. Oji, go ahead. What's your contribution to this?
My question here is, right, so who's going to make available all the information that is shrouded in secrecy that people are actually asking, all these questions people are asking, who then is going to make all these information available? Since the Commissioner for Culture and Tourism has stated, ask this, ask that, and all that, and she's not making available to us information.
Do you think Afia TV should in fact approach the Commissioner for Works and Infrastructure?
And also, she was stating the Commissioner for
bless you.
What commission again? That she was stating that they should go ask finance.
The Commissioner for Finance should provide
ask those
about the money,
those information about the monies and all that. But so obviously it's shrouded in
the
secrecy.
Contractor too.
Doesn't that undermine public trust?
The integrity. It undermines the integrity. But let me tell you, it is indeed the duty of the Commissioner for Culture and Tourism to release information on the place, to be more knowledgeable about it, to understand how much was spent on financing, to say who funded the rehabilitation, and then to talk about the handover, if there is already a handover.
So there is a handover. Now, the government has rehabilitated the hotel and has handed it over to Amber Hospitality. So that is clear. But we are yet to, we want to know Amber's contribution, because there's still, beyond saying 15 years, we said 15 years somewhere, but we still need more information around it. But let's leave it at that. Now, Ndibo rather are asking for where they stand in all this. They're saying that the management, the managing director, executive director of operations is from Zimbabwe, and that the mid-level managers, as reports are alleging, are from Yorubas. And this appears to be a problem for a lot of pundits. Bless you. A lot of pundits. They're asking if Igbos will get a seat at the management level. Now, based on how things should be when you're situating a business or operating a business in a certain environment, is it our right as Igbos to get a seat at the higher table with the management?
Yeah, you see, the point you're trying to make is dicey. You know why?
Tell me why.
It has to struggle between the two scenarios I painted. Profit and public service. If it is for profit, and they have handed it over to somebody who is likely to get it to the profit speed day, you leave the person to determine who he engages to help him do this.
So are you saying that the burden of who does what befalls on the shoulders of Amber Hospitality?
Yeah. If the agreement is for him to run it 100% his own way and return so and so amount to government, either monthly or quarterly or yearly, you cannot encumber him with the kind of staff to employ. If you do that, he is not likely to get the result he wants, because he is there not to please you, not to massage your ego, your nativity ego or ethnic ego. He's there to make money. And then the government thinks that he should not spend money again to pay people's salaries. So it has to leave it to sort it out. right? Sometimes there are crosses in between,
Right.
where the government may do some interventions and the people may listen and begin to recruit some natives. Because where you don't recruit natives, you are likely to encounter problems of resentment and avoidance. It is not an exclusive hotel in town. It's not the only one. So there are many. So there may be political reactions, especially where people come and there are certain kind of treatment to them. And they think this treatment is ethnic.
So do you think, we have 2 more questions before we wrap this up, just 2 minutes. Do you think that this tribal dimension that we've pointed out should be a genuine concern of Igbo? Should Igbo worry about where this company originates and who is part of the management? Should it be a genuine concern of Igbos?
I do not think it should be a genuine concern. Do you know why?
Why?
I have told you, one, that it looks like it is going to be profit-driven. If it is going to be profit-driven, it's up to them, right? We have many Igbos who have big businesses and they're employing non-Igbo as managers. For instance, the APs, the CEO is not an Igbo man, or is a lady from somewhere else. So, but that's what he wants, because it is the profit that he is interested in, right? But, you see, let me tell you, why should people be so worried about what now looks to me like somebody's private business if there has been transition from public to the private?
Yeah,
right?
been concessioned.
The state government has been employing non-Igbo. That is the area they should talk about. There's a Yoruba lady who is part of the tax chiefs in Enugu State. A Yoruba man is the governor's advisor on health. And the director or the commandant of the forest guard is a Yoruba man.
Now the question is, Dr. Ogazimorah, is this progressive? Is it progressive to break away from tribal lines, from tribal dimensions, and start to integrate people as Nigerians and not by their tribe? Or even as foreigners, not by their race?
It should be progressive, right? But it should not be done at the expense of the local people. Because once you do it that way, it begins to breed resentment. You can imagine what is happening in Lagos, where the Igbos are pure private sector operators, and yet they are resented because they think the locals think they are dominating them.
Based on everything you've seen on ground, would you say that Hotel Presidential is ready? We're seeing the rates, lease room is hundreds of thousands, 140,000. Oh yes, that's the least you can get. Would you say that based on what you've seen, what you've heard, that Hotel Presidential is ready to give people that luxury treatment they so desire?
And again, add to that the infrastructure. Do you think the infrastructure is worth what it is?
As a 4-star hotel?
Yeah.
You see, that's what I'm telling you. What if we are running it as a business? The water shall find its level. Is you know when we find the patronage, that you ask people to pay 140,000 for standard room? If you don't find the patronage, you may be forced to take it down to 50,000, right? And in any case, there are other questions people don't ask. Who is going to be the hotel goer in Enugu? Is it the civil servant? The people who have money in Enugu are people in government, right? The government is doing very well, but the government also has to do industries. Those people who power Lagos economy are private sector operators.
We're out of time, Ozo. Thank you so much for joining the show this morning.
Thank you very much.
And you can rest assured that in subsequent bulletins at Afia TV, we'll bring your insights on the operations side of Hotel Presidential. Our crew is, as you may guess, on ground to bring us up-to-date information on how the hotel is operating, how the lawyers are having experiencing Hotel Presidential, alongside other side attractions in the state as the NBA conference is underway. The morning show returns shortly as we look at another event that took place yesterday, still on the sidelines of the conference, as we saw a group of Enugu residents demonstrate, peacefully protest for the release of the Enugu South Urban Constituency Labour Party lawmaker-elect Barrister Bright Ngene, calling for his release and the intervention of the Bar Association in facilitating his release from prison after he was slammed a sentence of 7 years. The morning show returns shortly. Stay tuned.